A very good morning and welcome to HPCT 2013. This is our annual event in which we bring together all the stakeholders of our local HP ecosystem, our customers, our partners. Later on we will be joined by our employees, and for me this is a fantastic day because I get to see so many of you in one room. So a very big thank you for taking time to join us here today. To get this session going on innovation and mobility, I'm going to start by showing you how we look and how we approach innovation and mobility from HP. And we actually do that from two perspectives. One is an internal perspective and the other one is an external one. So if we start with the internal one, then I'm going to talk about the HP labs. We have actually in one way bundled all the R&D of all our business groups in our HP labs, and then on the other hand these HP labs are decentralized over 7 locations across the world. These labs work closely together with local universities, with local companies, and push the boundaries of technology in many different areas. Too many that I have time for here today, unfortunately, but things like photonic computing, which is really going to revolutionize many industries in the future, because the computers of the future will really have calculating power at the speed of light. And another example of something we're working on in the HP labs is the picture that you see at the bottom there. This was a couple of months ago created in the HP labs, and it's the first 3D hologram that we were able to make. And if you remember the Star Wars movies and you remember the conversation between R2-D2 and Leia, you know, maybe one day that's going to be reality and is going to be the way that people can interact across the globe and maybe look at products or product design together. So we're very excited about what is happening in those HP labs. Another dimension from which we work on from an innovation perspective is the work that we do with and for the thousands of clients that we have. And this is a different approach. Instead of starting from technology, we're thinking with the clients on how we can help them innovate and how we can help them to be more competitive in their market. And I will give you a couple of examples of that in a moment. Innovation is alive and kicking at HP. In Silicon Valley, which hosts the headquarters of actually most of the large IT companies, the company last year that filed the most patent requests was actually HP, which I think is a message that speaks for itself. So let's have a look at some of the examples of the stuff that we do. And I'm not sure if this is a person that some of you will recognize, but this is Chris Hadfield. Chris is a Canadian astronaut who spent 5 months in space. And he did something that no astronaut was doing before. He actually started taking pictures of Earth, fascinating, beautiful pictures of cities, landmarks that people could recognize. He started uploading videos to YouTube about experiments that he was doing in weightless conditions, and he posted that on Twitter. And as you can see, this is actually his profile page on Twitter. He managed to gather more than 1 million people that could actually trace that. And statistically, that means that probably we should have 2 or 3 in the room that actually follow him. I don't know if that's true. But the point that I want to get to is this. For us, it's now obvious that we communicate and that we upload, download videos and pictures through the internet. It's not obvious doing that with a space station that is hanging in space. Because as you can see on this picture, there is no high-volume internet cable dangling down and being plugged into a wall somewhere in Houston. And your little Wi-Fi box that you have at home, or maybe that is hanging here, which is a bit more powerful, can never be powerful enough to support that kind of heavy graphic communication between Earth and space. And a number of years ago, NASA decided to work with the technology of HP, which is a combination of our HP networking hardware, but also some very sophisticated compression software that enables NASA to squeeze huge amounts and volumes of data through a very thin pipe up into space, which has a very limited bandwidth. And that is the same technology that is now used to send us these kind of pictures. This is not a postcard from somebody from Arizona. This is a very detailed, incredible picture, I think, from Mars, taken by the Curiosity rover. And also that rover is equipped with that same HP technology. I think it's something that not many people know. And the thing that I think is cool is if you buy one of our workstations, which we equip for people that really have heavy demands in terms of graphics, we put the same technology on there. So that's kind of an example of innovation that is coming out of our HP labs. Let's look at an external view on innovation, on something we've done together with a very big client. I think everybody knows and agrees that Coca-Cola is the #1 brand in the world, and they take that very seriously, and they spend a lot of time and effort in continuing to protect that brand, but also to take it to the next level. And they've done that with a campaign called Share a Coke, which actually first started in Australia, which was extremely popular there. And they decided to do the same in Europe, which became a lot more complex. I think you've seen people in supermarkets turning around these Coke bottles to see if they could find one with their name on it, or the name of their wife. In Europe, this turned out to be pretty complicated because you have so many countries and so many languages. So this took more than 10,000 different artworks, which is a challenge in itself. 32 countries, multiple languages, more than 800 million individualized labels that had to be printed. And then the real challenge, and this is why you had to do it with digital printing instead of classic printing. Normally with classic printing on these kind of volumes, you always print the same, which would mean people in warehouses or in supermarkets would have to randomize those bottles, which would have been very labor expensive. So we did that for them by printing digitally, and what you need there is an industrial capacity to print in large volumes, high quality, and with variable content. So that's another example of what we do in terms of innovation for a client. Now, these are international or global examples, and you may wonder, what are we doing here? How do we bring the HP portfolio to life locally, and how do we bring that aspect of innovation and mobility to life here locally? So to explain that, I'm going to very quickly walk through our portfolio. And we have a couple of things that are important, I think, to have a visual map on. Our first business group is our Printer and Personal Systems group, which basically brings our PCs, our printers, and our tablets to the market. The second one is our Converged Infrastructure group, and that's an HP invention in itself. We coined that term 4 years ago because we saw enormous synergies, which we now already inject in our design between storage, networking, and server capacity. And the whole market is now following that trend, which we started many years ago. And then next to that, we have a software group with 3 performance suites, as you can see. And that is a very sizable part of our organization as well. If the software group would be a separate company, it would be the 6th largest software house in the world. And that's behind some big names like SAP and Microsoft and Oracle. Now, I think there are 1 or 2 people from the press here in the room, so I don't want to trigger or start a rumor that we're going to spin off another part of our business. That is not the intention. But I just want to explain it to you to give you a feeling for the relative size. Cutting through that portfolio, we have 3 focus areas. The big bets, as our CEO calls it. It's cloud and mobility, which is one of our teams. Security, top of mind with every client that I talk to, and big data or information management. And to top that off, the majority of our people actually work in our services units, which bring all these elements together. So a couple of examples of what we do locally. Colruyt, for example, is a very interesting one. Everybody knows them as the biggest or one of the biggest supermarkets in Belgium. What not many people know is that they actually own and run one of the biggest printing facilities in the whole of Belgium. And they do that to print all these colored brochures and coupons that you get into your letterbox. And what they used to do in the past is they would print the same 20 pages for everybody. You would get the same envelope in your bus as your neighbor. What they do now with the help of HP technology is they analyze your personal buying behavior based on your Colruyt loyalty card, and they customize what they print for you and what they put into your letterbox. So instead of getting the 20 pages on all the products, you only get about 8 pages on the products you're interested in, which is good for you, more interesting for you. It cuts the printing cost of Colruyt by more than half, and it increases their revenue because it's a more individualized, targeted marketing. Now, we don't have time today to go through all the examples. These are some logos of recent wins that we've done. I wish I could talk to you about the fantastic security references that we have, but these clients prefer us not to publish that, and I'm going to respect that, obviously. We recently signed a deal with one of our sponsors, so thank you also for that, with Real Dolmen. It was our first cloud agile partnership in Belgium. And on big data, a nice example of how a company is using our software, our autonomy software, to process unstructured data is Belga. So they use our software to, in real time, take the thousands and thousands of news streams that are coming in, and this is unstructured data, in 4 languages in parallel. They index, categorize in real time, and then rebundle and distribute that to their clients. So that's another example. And then the last one that I'm going to mention is Umicore. We have Ludo here from Umicore in the room, but Umicore in itself, a very innovative company. They were voted the most sustainable company of the world, which is something we can be proud of in Belgium. And we've helped them as well to bring their SAP and Cognos environment more to a cloud-ready state. So with that, I hope I have given you a flavor of how we look at innovation from or at HP. I really look forward to meeting and talking to you and networking to you over the lunch in a couple of hours. I hope you will enjoy the next speakers that will come on stage. If you want to follow what we're doing and how we continue to bring innovation to the market, I'm not as popular as this Chris Hadfield with his 1 million followers, but I do try to keep my followers up to date on what is happening at HP. So thank you very much for your attention. I hope you have a fantastic day and look forward to speaking to you later. Thank you.